Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on your business purchases. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 15th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. Check out the new card design at www.delta.com/Spotify Business. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends July 15th, 2026.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Eddie Aragon lives near Zorro Ranch. Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch, where the most horrendous things that Jeffrey did allegedly took place. What I have found about Eddie Aragon is because he lives near Zorro Ranch, he lives in the rabbit hole. He doesn't dive down the rabbit hole. He actually lives there. He's got a condo down there. And whenever I listen to Eddie talk, it's always very entertaining because he's a broadcaster and he knows how to talk. He has a better voice than I do, which is threatening. But he knows how to tell a story. Here's the thing, though. At the beginning of Eddie's stories, it flirts with fact. And then toward the end of Eddie's stories, he's crazy. And because he gets crazy, he has to be on the show. He's the most entertaining guest possible because he rolls into crazy. Eddie Aragon, welcome to the other side of midnight, live from New Mexico. Very exciting to have you here. Now, how did this happen? The way it happened is that he lives near Zorro Ranch. He's a broadcaster. He's known in the community. Workmen at Zorro Ranch started calling him and telling him things that were going on because they trusted him. That's how it started, right, Eddie?
That's absolutely how it started. Hey, good evening, Walter. Hope you're well, and we are all well here on the other side of midnight. I have to tell you that your previous hour topic, talking about how to put the baby to sleep or the children to sleep, I think is a good one, and it leads right into what I want to talk about tonight. Now, as you know, last night we talked about Madeline McCann, abducted from her room, 3 years old, in Portugal, and her parents were taking turns checking on her throughout the night, and then, two other siblings were in the same room or same sort of hotel, hostel, whatever, within there while they were out there having a good time. And then she disappears, never to appear again, still unsolved from back in 2007. And would you believe it? Ghislaine Maxwell happens to be in Portugal at the time that Madeline McCann dies. And the internet is just going crazy. So I want to kind of shift back into sort of the next part of this, which is more unsolved stuff, more crazy, if you will, if you want to go into this. And this one goes into maybe the most familiar to your audience and maybe the rest of the country, really. And this goes back to a long winter night back in Boulder. Snow is falling. It's Christmas night. And nearly 30 years ago, big, comfortable house, family, glowing fire, all that kind of stuff. And all this stuff is happening for Christmas, and the last crumbs of the cookies are there, and a 6-year-old beauty queen, JonBenét Ramsey. She's someone, believe it or not, during that time who had visited the doctor, the pediatrician, a family friend, 33 times in the past 16 months. So this little girl, picture-perfect American Christmas, she has her 9-year-old brother there in the other room. And then there was, Santa visiting, not the mall Santa, just, 2 nights before, as the Ramseys had a big Christmas party. And his name was Santa Bill McReynolds, white beard, real, 65 years of age, his voice deep, like yours, Walter, of course. And, he was their Santa. He was the Ramsey Santa on December 23rd. And he was invited into the home, welcome like family, of course. And this is just a couple of days before the murder that we all know too well, JonBenét Ramsey, the stuff of Netflix, the stuff of any streaming app that's out there. And, she, of course, climbed into his lap a couple of days before, whispered into Santa's ear and told her exactly what she wanted for Christmas. No one knows exactly what this she wanted, but she didn't want what ultimately happened to her because he gave her a card. Santa, that's right. Santa Bill McReynolds gave little JonBenét a card, and it had a strange promise, almost a premonition written inside, and it says, something special is going to happen to you after Christmas. Well, we all know what happened right after Christmas, because those words didn't sound, I'm sure, very ominous to, JonBenét's parents at the time. They were just, part of the lore of the season, the magic of the season. And, that's just him being Santa. And then later on, what do we have right after all that? Police tapes, autopsy, everything. And then, this started to, kind of grip the community because, and grip the JonBenét family, unbelievably, obviously, because of the terrible tragedy that just happened. There's so much that there's this chaos, right? I mean, much like the Madeleine McCann deal, where there's just chaos and things get lost, and the police officers are going to mess up the crime scene and all of that. So just after sunrise that morning, Patsy Ramsey is on the phone with 911. She's going crazy. Her words are going, all over the place. And she's stating that JonBenét had been kidnapped, not murdered. They hadn't found the body yet, right? And then the note that is out there is not a sticky note on demand. It's a single sheet from the very same pad, right? 3 pages long, all drawn up, rambling, theatrical, all this kind of obsessive language that's in there. And the kidnapper demands exactly $118,000. Now, that has 2 significance, but the only one I want to pay attention to is that is exactly the amount that JonBenét's father got as a bonus for Christmas. Wasn't 100,000, wasn't $1 million, wasn't like a ransom note. It was something that was known. So that same number is John Ramsey's Christmas bonus. And you don't just get that number from a phone book. You had to be in the area. And there's about 40 people at JonBenét's, the Ramsey Christmas party. Santa was there that night. Also there, the pediatrician. Also there, well, it gets a little bit macabre, but from right there's a number of other associates. But we're going to whittle it down to just 3 because this is actually something that could have been solved had the police paid attention. We're not talking about Portuguese police like Madeleine McCann. We're talking about older, all-American, small town. One murder takes place maybe every single year. And the way that this note looks on the page, written on the paper from inside the house, the hand-ready experts will all jump into this after, and they all compare it, Walter, to Patsy's writing. And they start to see some similar capital letters, similar to everything. Everything seems to be all the same. And here's where it kind of gets, crazy, right? Because the police had already searched. JonBenét was kidnapped. She was gone. Where did she go? She's gone on Christmas night. Well, the police went back to go search again, found nothing. And lo and behold, 1 p.m. the following day, after she had already been gone 7.5, 8 hours, the police had combed through there, JonBenét's father finds her. They went through all these things, room by room, finds her. John Ramsey goes downstairs in that same basement, in the same area the officers say that they already looked, and John discovers his daughter's body, lying on the floor, her little wrists bound, duct tape over her mouth, and a devastating skull fracture that is ultimately what kills her. And her neck, she has a makeshift strangling device around her neck from one of Patsy's own paintbrushes, by the way. This is, strange. So this isn't like a kidnapping gone wrong. This is a ransom demanded from inside the house at $118,000. And then at the very same time, they find her 7 hours after they don't discover. And Santa Bill McReynolds is not just a kindly old man in a red suit. He was there, and he comes with his own set of eerie coincidences. For your audience that knows this, let me refresh their memory, because it was 22 years on the very same night. Decades earlier, on the same night, McReynolds' own daughter was abducted and killed. Unbelievably. The chances of that happening, I've tried to put this into AI and try to figure it out.
What does AI say?
Well, I couldn't come up with a number because it wouldn't spit it out.
Right.
But it's well into the millions. It's an impossibility. It's a mathematical impossibility. And then right in the basement of her own home. And I want to kind of talk more about the facts that all surround this, which is the 911 call that was placed the night at 6:47 during the Christmas party and then hung up. And then the police show up, Walter, to the door, go knocking on the door, and then the woman who's basically gatekeeping the entire place doesn't even let the police in. She's like, no, we're good here. We're good.
Really?
So that was placed.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Shuts them out. Shuts them out. Doesn't let the police come in and say, no, that was a false alarm. She calls in at six. The 911 is called at 6:47. The police show up at 7:04. So think about that time. So that's 17 minutes from that time. Okay? Santa Bill's inside the place. Who could have placed that call? Why was that call placed? That wasn't the only call that was placed. There were several other emergency phone calls placed from the Ramsey household directly to, you guessed it, the police officers. Also, similar calls were also paid to the pediatrician. The same pediatrician who was there at the event or at the Christmas party that night. And his name was Buff, B-E-U-F. Okay? And all of these people happened to be in the house. So December 26, 1974, going back to Bill McReynolds' 9-year-old daughter and her friend were abducted. The friend was sexually assaulted, but his daughter survived. 22 years to the day before JonBenét's body was found, December 26, 1996, which is where the 22-year same-day coincidence comes from. There's no solid reporting on any of this other than the fact that the daughter's case, he lost his daughter 22 years prior. And it's unusual. It's mathematically impossible across decades for this to actually have happened, right? So investigators sort of investigators took this pattern pretty seriously, right? They look at this and like, well, there's no coincidences. We got to say that he's, one of the suspects. It's just, bizarre. So this is the Santa Claus theory. Now, the brother has been implicated, the 9-year-old brother, that he was jealous.
There's no way.
He won a
There's no way. There's no way. He won
a $750 million lawsuit against CBS because they irresponsibly implied that he had probably killed his own sister.
Didn't happen.
The two older brothers.
Right. No 9-year-old. And by the way, yes, and I'm glad you just said what you just said. Nobody realizes that JonBenét had 2 other brothers. She had 2 much bigger, very capable stepbrothers, and you and I will continue this astonishing conversation coming up in just seconds. You have any thoughts about the JonBenét Ramsey, and why do we keep talking about this? Because of psychological dissonance. What does that mean? It means that when there's a story told and it doesn't make sense, that's because a piece is, in fact, missing. Your brain's just fine. Your brain isn't going to obsess about something that's solved. This isn't solved, like the Kennedy murder, not solved, like the World Trade Center, not solved. That's why we keep thinking about it, because there's a piece missing. That's the problem with the JonBenét murder conversation. There's a piece missing.